Joined by Liberal Senator James Paterson to talk all things Canberra at the moment. Senator, thanks for your time this morning. Thanks for joining us. First of all, ASIO has uncovered a sleeper agent running spy ring. It's on most of the national newspapers this morning. So it's warned that foreign agents are operating here, more here than during the height of the Cold War. How much of a surprise are those comments to you?
They're not a great surprise, but I really welcome Mike Burgess's speech, which is going to become an annual event. I think that openness and transparency and honesty with the Australian people is really warranted and justified in the current environment. What Mike Burgess said last night echoes a whole host of very senior current and former officials who've said that we are facing unprecedented foreign interference threats, and it's why over the last few years the government has passed a range of new laws to bolster our defences and to secure our sovereignty.
Well, according to that speech, there's twice as many threats this year than last year. So in your experience and what you know, where are those threats mostly coming from?
Well, I know we're going to try to play the game here where I name a country or number of countries, and for understandable reasons, if Mike Burgess is unwilling to do that, I shouldn't do that either. But I think all Australians know that we are operating in a different global environment than what we were 5 or even 10 years ago, let alone 20 or 30 years ago. Foreign interference from a range of countries is at unprecedented levels.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people out there who would probably single out China here. I'll do the naming for you, but it's based on reports that have been well and truly out there over the past few months now, and you've spoken on these sorts of things in the past too. These foreign agents that are around about in Victoria as well. There's sleeper agents preying on dissidents. So is that a fair enough assumption?
What I thought about Mark Burgess's speech was particularly disturbing was the accusation that Australian citizens have been intimidated by foreign intelligence officers, and that members of diaspora communities have been intimidated, and that their family and friends back home in their home countries have also been intimidated. That is very worrying. It's completely unacceptable to the Australian government. It is unlawful, and we take it very seriously, and we will harshly and swiftly pursue those that we suspect of doing so.
Senator, just in the last couple of minutes, Senator Kristina Keneally was doing a mini press conference on First Edition, and she said that she's going to put forward a motion today citing Bettina Arndt's comments as reckless and abhorrent, essentially stating that Bettina Arndt should be stripped of her Order of Australia medal. How will you vote?
That's a good question. I'll consult my colleagues on that this morning, but in short, I agree with Kristina Keneally that her comments are reprehensible, that they are abhorrent, and they deserve to be condemned and criticised, and I'm quite comfortable for politicians to do that. On the actual handing out and rescinding of Order of Australia awards, I think appropriately that shouldn't be done by politicians. I think that should be done as it is by the Australia Day Council, and there are reports in the media that they are considering whether Ms Arndt has brought the awards into disrepute, and I think that's appropriate.
Just on Senator Pauline Hanson as well, she was on television yesterday where she said, don't bastardise all men out there, or women for that matter, because these things happen. That's what she said. A lot of people are driven to do this, to do these acts for one reason or another. Can I get your thoughts on those comments from Senator Pauline Hanson?
I don't believe in victim blaming of any kind. The only people responsible for crimes are the people who commit those crimes, and they deserve to be held account for their behaviour. There is no excuse for domestic violence against your family or anyone else for that matter, and so I don't think anyone, particularly those in high office, should be making excuses or trying to justify or explain it.
Is there any part of those comments that stands out for you the most, though?
Well, I think the comment that these things happen, while that might be technically true, is not the right attitude from senior political leaders. We need to be determined to make sure that these things don't happen, and we need to put every effort behind campaigns to make sure that they don't happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was referring to the stat there, in excess of 61 women die every year from domestic violence, so that stands to reason that her comments, these things happen, well, that comment is in fact true, but do you think she should be removed from her position in the family law inquiry?
No, I think that would be a retrograde step. I mean, the reality is that Pauline Hanson has been elected by the people of Queensland and she represents concerns that are reflected in the community. I don't think it's necessary to try and exclude politicians who have views that other politicians disagree with from every parliamentary debate or inquiry that we have. But we have to make sure that those views are balanced against the evidence that I know the inquiry will collect. And I know that the chair, Kevin Andrews, is a very experienced and very measured parliamentarian, will give all the weight of the committee inquiry and its recommendations to the evidence that it receives.
OK, Senator James Paterson, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.